The question about whether you can be radicalized online has already been supported by our government. We believe that after 9/11, when people had access to ISIS supporters and those who were trying to radicalize.
Yep. It's about digital
You have to
identity.
treat it like extremism, but just because it's on the internet, just because it's on a message board, doesn't mean it's any less free.
Any less harmful and any less dangerous, and I think that's the thing we're learning. Thanks to both of you, appreciate it. Ben Collins and Clint Watts.
Extremism has many, many faces. You have to acknowledge that.
I'm a little scared after that conversation. I mean, I'd like to be hopeful. I was such an early adopter of social media because I thought this is great. We're going to be able to get everybody's views. The dialogue's going to be terrific. The discussion.
But it always seems like we're discovering this stuff after the fact. Right. Why can't we be
proactive? So we have to stop demonizing people and realize the biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized to the right, and we have to start doing something about them. There is no travel ban on them. There is no ban on, they had the Muslim ban. There is no white guy ban. So what do we do about that?
I'm making this with a heavy heart and so full of unchanneled energy, it's difficult to know where to begin. But something is better than nothing. It strikes me that we've turned a corner over the past few weeks with regards to the narratives being fed to us by our establishment-approved storytellers. A power play is being engaged in to put the final nail in the coffin with regards to the monopolization of social media, a push for the total control of our information streams, as well as an attempted imposition of concrete restrictions on anyone publicly voicing truths regarding any misdeeds of a certain extremely protected group. Not only is the narrative shifting to disallow any criticism of this group and its culture, but one can no longer voice a critical opinion even of individuals within this group without threat of serious blowback, career suicide, or social shunning, and soon, potentially, imprisonment. Things are now escalating at a rapid pace. I have 1,000 things to say, but for now I just want to say this. Resist the urge to hate. Resist the urge to stoop to the level of our opponents and be fueled by spiteful malevolence. Fight the impulse with every ounce of your being. I know very, very well how frustrating it can be to uncover the litany of crimes, corruption, the seemingly purposeful destruction and degeneration of nations and cultures, to uncover the leading role of certain groups in slavery of all types, both past and present, their dominant role in big pharma, and the use of dishonest advertising to create a nation of legal junkies and walking zombies, the aggressive pushing of all forms of vice and degeneracy, the willful instigation of wars that have led to the killing off of the flower of Europe for generations, the almost unfathomable shamelessness of a foe that cries out in pain as he strikes you and makes sure the entire community is gathered round to hear his shouts, that insatiable master of the overplayed hand. What I'm asking you all is that you not give in to the exhausting frustration, that you do everything in your power to minimize and control that justified anger which, when unable to find an outlet for expression, becomes internalized and wreaks havoc on the mind, body, and soul. I'm well aware much of this anger springs from your love of your fellow humanity, for your culture, for justice, order, and human decency, but the effects of carrying such a burden are still the same, and are even magnified by the fact that much of the world has been indoctrinated to completely misunderstand the why behind it all. In short, never play the role your enemy has written for you. Avoid playing into his hands and taking the next step down the path which he's paved for you. Engaging in public expressions of hatred or lashing out in acts of individual violence is both harmful and counter to who we are. This caricature being built of those who seek to wrest the Western world back from the brink of destruction is disgustingly dishonest. Yet at the same time, it's obtained some purchase in the minds of many. And it's always flamed to maximum effect whenever an opportunity presents itself, or whenever one can be created out of whole cloth. We now live in a world of programmable NPCs, and technology has enabled this programming to reach terrifying levels of efficiency. And we must recognize this fact and act accordingly. I'm aware this is brutally difficult and so much easier said than done, but seek to do everything in your power to harness and channel this energy into something meaningful, productive, life-affirming, towards solutions, towards improving the situation, in whatever big or small manner you might be able. Everyone is capable of playing some role, even if this is just educating yourself to the utmost, or talking to friends or family if the opportunity arises, or working to shield your children from this poison drip. An additional suggestion, for what it's worth: oftentimes the most efficient way to communicate truth to those under the sway of that wizard behind the curtain is to circle around the core. Hint, lead, imply, but avoid setting off those pre-programmed red flags. Attack the cult of ugliness, attack corruption and degeneracy and self-serving behavior, or that impulse towards complexification to better hide in the shadows and fine print, the penchant for exaggeration and mischaracterization. If one obtains a deep understanding of the root of the evil we're facing, one can learn to attack it from all sides without having to speak its name, and gain an increasing number of allies in so doing. Realize that we're facing a population that has been programmed to unthinkingly accept certain narratives and reject others, that now live lives of scripted speech and actions. The way to ease them towards truth is to inhabit the middle ground between raw truth and their current opinion, not to shout at them from afar with words they couldn't possibly understand yet. Communication fails when two individuals have developed different internal dictionaries, operating on different frequencies. And don't just fight against, fight for. Champion the best aspects of our inherited tradition, the heroic ideal, the impulse towards self-sacrifice, towards creation, natural hierarchy and order. That paternal instinct that seeks to help others stand on their own 2 feet. Operating from a position of love is infinitely superior to that of hatred, animosity, or anger. And on this front, it's helpful to remind yourself that a great many on the other side are good people and well-meaning. They're simply not yet aware the extent to which they're being lied to. They'll be the most stalwart allies when this is someday remedied. The ideal is to hack at the subversive root with one hand and sow good seed with the other. And when things get too bad, my advice is to flee from ugliness, degeneracy, and deceit. Completely shut it out. I know many of you are like me, intent on keeping your finger on the pulse of the nation and the world at large at all costs, even when it's draining, infuriating, and nearly intolerable. But a balance must be struck, now more than ever. The goal of this machine marching towards some transhumanist, kakistocratic technocracy is to marginalize the greatest threats to their schemes. And rest assured they have nearly an infinite bag of tricks with which to accomplish this aim. And these tricks are now backed by decades of comprehensive psychological research and a deep understanding of the efficient manipulation of populations, and now a complete control of both news and social media. My advice is to avoid flailing at the tendrils of this octopus, or aim for any single head of this hydra. Seek to understand the root of this cancer, to ensure your energy isn't spent chasing phantoms. One of the most effective ways to wage this battle is to imbibe and spread beauty in its broadest sense. Any sensory inputs that inspire a feeling of ascension, loftiness, those that recharge us. This archetypal struggle is against chaos, entropy, ugliness, degeneration. A meta-force seeking to drag us into the depths. Spoonfuls of sugar are used to help the poison go down, and have filled much of the world with so much poison over time as to cultivate a mass addiction to it. But this is due to deception. When all is said and done, when the veil falls, it'll be the beautiful and lofty that produce inexhaustible energy, happiness, and fulfillment. This battle is far from lost, All that's required is clarity in enough hearts and minds. And those hateful and spiteful souls currently calling the tune would be toppled practically overnight. Seek to help unmuddy the waters, untangle the knots by any and every means at your disposal. Help be that clarity. Clarify yourself in order to act as a pure stream for others insofar as is possible. The future literally depends on it. Lastly, know that we're all in this together, and that our swiftly growing ranks are much larger than the controlled press might lead you to believe. So many are again waking to the importance of family, of nation, of common bonds, gaining a newfound respect for the wisdom and traditions of those who have come before, that beauty and magic handed down from on high, embracing who they are and where they came from, and recognizing just how sick it is for outsiders to try to paralyze us with shame and guilt, those who would call us hateful for feeling love to serve their own purposes. This rampaging virus we're facing has infected the body politic to its core, but an immune system is springing into action with equal force. Our goal should be to help guide this process. For those interested in an online refuge from the sickness of the modern world, I'll be launching a 24/7 live stream as of the publishing of this video. Over time, I'll be doing my best to create a pleasant environment, to put it simply. Some fresh air in an atmosphere choked with pollution. I'll be logging all chat to determine what to add, detract, using your input as a guide, and I look forward to making it as aesthetically pleasing as possible. If you have any quotes or music or visuals or concepts or ideas to share on how it might be improved, I'm happy to consider them all. In summary, we seem to be entering excessively trying, uncharted waters. I feel it, and I'm sure many of you do as well. But hold the line, keep your head up, realize much of what we're seeing are the death throes of desperate men in losing positions, and most importantly, realize the heroic ideal necessitates hardship and struggle as a prerequisite. Obstacles merely allow us to flex our muscles and test our mettle, to prove who we're capable of being. It's always darkest before the dawn. Remember who you are and from whence you came, and act accordingly.